How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another video. What we're going to be doing today is going over some stuff that I think every PVMer should know, even though they're not maybe the most obvious things. They are stuff that it will help everybody out. So the stuff in here should go from basically low-end people who are getting just into PVM to maybe some stuff getting towards endgame as well. But keep in mind, if you are a great endgame player, the chances are you're going to already know everything in here because you guys are probably better than me, but that's okay. So I hope you enjoy. If you do, make sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe to the channel if you are new. Heads up, this video can probably be minimized because at the moment I'm working without internet. I'm just using mobile data while I'm in between a move. So the next few videos probably will be similar to this. I'll have a bit of background footage that I recorded pre-moving, and then I'll be talking over that, seeing as that doesn't require internet to actually do, and then editing that up and then uploading it very slowly. We should be back to normal about Friday, so hopefully we are by then. Thank you all for bearing with me. Now let's talk about what everybody should know as a PVMer in RuneScape. So these things are really in no particular order. I just sort of wrote them down as they came to mind over time, and then I made them into this video. So they may be a little bit jumbled up, but that's okay. There's not really a specific order to it anyway, so I won't worry about it. But the first thing I'm going to talk about is something aimed towards the beginner PVMer. You are maybe trying to do things like Nex, and you'll be learning it, and you'll try and use a yak first. And you maybe hear people say, oh, you should use a nihil. And you're thinking, yeah, but if I use a yak, I still use half of my inventory of my yak before I even get towards the end of the kill. So how can I possibly even consider using a nihil at this point? Well, what you need to know is actually using DPS familiars, so this is nihils or Ripper Demon pretty much, is actually quite a bit easier than you may be thinking, and it's definitely worth you trying it out and giving it a shot at the level that you are now, because yes, you may still need a yak at your current experience, but it's still worth trying yourself on a nihil for a couple of kills or a Ripper Demon for a couple of kills, because you never know, the difference may just be there. Now, what I mean by this is, if you actually take Nex as the example, Nex is a brilliant example for this. I used to use a yak at Nex as well when I was getting into PVM, and I used to use most of the food in there, including brews, having extra brews in there as well. I would munch the hell through it. But my kills took a long time because I didn't have the accuracy. At Nex, your accuracy is really bad and you will splash a hell of a lot. Having the nihil, it increases your accuracy by quite a decent amount, and you do notice the difference a hell of a lot. Now, of course, having a better accuracy at Nex means you can get through phases a lot quicker. You can do a lot more damage, obviously, because you're not missing anywhere near as many abilities, and you do get through the kill a lot faster. The faster you get through the kill, the less food you're going to need, because you are in there less time taking damage before you're banking next. So for example, if you use a yak and it takes you 5 minutes to get a kill, 5 to 7 minutes maybe as a beginner time, you're going to be using quite a lot of food to be tanking Nex for 5 to 7 minutes. That is a lot of time to be taking hits from Nex. That being said, if you are on a nihil and you aren't taking nearly as long, maybe 3 to 5 minutes, that's about an average of 2 minutes either end that you've saved yourself just from using a nihil, and it saves you a lot of food. You don't have to use any food for that extra 2 minutes, so you actually end up not needing the yak. Now, this may not apply to everybody, because if you are brand new and you're taking a lot of damage and taking a lot more time and stuff, then yes, the yak may be better for you to learn with. But I would highly suggest that you do try at least to bring a nihil or bring a Ripper Demon, depending where you're going, and seeing if you can get away without using the yak. One, it's going to save you a lot of food, which will save you a lot of money in the long run. But two, it'll make your life easier because you're getting through the kills a lot quicker. And trust me, that does translate into being a lot smoother. It may be a weird transition to begin with, but it will be worth a practice. And I do suggest that every now and again, you just try it. So if you have never tried using a nihil at Nex, or you have never tried using a Ripper Demon at, say, Elite Dungeons, for example, but you do solo them and you use a yak, just try it. The next time you go, just try it. Try and get a nihil out. See if it makes any difference. If you struggle, you can't get it in a couple of kills, of course take your Ring of Death with you. Don't risk that. I'm not covering any death costs yet, but just try a couple of kills with a nihil, see how close you get and see if you notice the difference, and then let me know in the comments if you did notice the difference. If it doesn't work, then go back to the yak for a little while, and then in a couple of weeks, or after just when you notice that you are getting a bit better at the boss, then just try it again and just keep doing that. But don't just sack off the fact that you can't use a nihil. Trust me, it will help out a lot, and this goes for Ripper Demons as well. Use scrolls in certain places too. It is going to help you out a lot. It will save you food because you're not in the fight for as long. It's definitely something that a lot of PVMers should take on board, because DPS familiars are best in slot for a reason. I just wanted to quickly add to this that there is nothing wrong with you using a yak. If you want to use a yak, if that is what you want to do, if that's what you prefer to do, then use a yak. I am just trying to help out by letting you know that if you do actually try these other ones out and they are better, then hey, at least you tried. I just don't want anyone to think that it's impossible, that you're not good enough, that you're just not going to be able to pull it off, because you definitely will be able to at some point. But like I say, if you are on a yak, don't feel bad. Don't feel like you're behind anyone else by too much or whatever. It's absolutely fine. If you want to use a yak, then use a yak. Okay, so that first one took a freaking long time. I will try and make the next one not take as long, but that first one was kind of like a lot to talk about, right? So the second one is going to be defense abilities are probably your most important kit in a lot of places. And what I mean by this is a lot of bosses, a lot of encounters, defense abilities are probably going to be something that are more important to you than anything else that you know about, like any of the DPS abilities and the rotation, that sort of stuff. You can probably throw that out the window in a lot of situations. Yes, you'll get slower kills, but if you don't know your defense abilities, they are going to be prioritized a bit more in certain bosses. What I mean by this is, for example, at the Ambassador in the last phase, he will call your name, especially in a solo, it is always going to be you no matter what, but he will call your name, and then if you don't use Devotion and change to Magic Prayer, or use Reflect and Abilitate, or use Barricade, something to deal with the damage that you're about to take, you're going to die. You will be dead. It doesn't matter how good your DPS is. If you are a DPS god, and you get through this, if you get your name called once and you don't understand how to deal with this mechanic because you don't know what your defense abilities do, you're going to die either way and you will have to reset. So learning your defense abilities is something you should definitely not just sort of pass up on. A lot of PVMers that get into it don't really read the defense abilities, they just know what Resonance does, they maybe know what Anticipating Freedom does, but that's usually about as far as it goes. A lot of people don't know things about like Preparation that will reduce the Resonance cooldown, they don't know about Barricade, they don't know about Abilitate and Reflect. You definitely want to know what these do because you will use them a hell of a lot. Another example would be at Next during the ice phase. You can use a Vitality Potion on the first prison, but it will be on cooldown for the second one if you don't have enough DPS to get through that. What you want to do there is eat up to full health and use Resonance. That way, if you do get stacked with a hit that actually lands, you heal that hit rather than dying. Another example would be at Solak, when the bombs come in during the actual bit where you're under a shield. If you don't use something like Debilitate or Reflect, you can take a hell of a lot of damage, which for a learner or a beginner could definitely cause you to die or run out of food before you get to the end of the kill. And that is not something that you want. Defense abilities are super important. You definitely 100% need to know what they do, and they will be used a hell of a lot throughout this game. Honestly, even in situations where defense abilities aren't normally used, having them and understanding how they work can save your life so many freaking times. It is unreal. Sometimes things just go wrong and you just panic and you need to use a defense ability. I recently put out a short where I accidentally used Intercept on someone at Nex, and because they were getting chased by Nex in melee distance, I was taking all of their bleed damage, and I panicked big time, but I chucked on my shield, I used a Barricade, and I was absolutely fine, and I could figure out what I needed to do, which was just provoke Nex. Honestly, just provoke Nex, but I panicked. The situation was just random, but knowing what my defensive abilities did kept me alive. So it's definitely something that I would suggest every PVMer does do. Sit down, read your defense abilities. It will definitely pay off in the future. The next one I'm going to be talking about switches, the good old thing that everyone loves. Everyone loves switches. Everyone loves having 20 items in their inventory and having about 3 pieces of food. No, we don't. Okay, fair enough. Most people don't. A lot of people do. Quite a lot of people do actually quite enjoy switching between all the items and like squeezing out that tiny little bit of DPS that they can get out of it, and that is absolutely great for you people. Now, I know a lot of people, and probably the majority of people, hate switches and wish they didn't need to do it. And it kind of comes with invention, right? They kind of go hand in hand. You need a switch for your planted feet. You need a switch for chroming 4 if you have greater ricochet or greater chain. You need a switch for like flanking and all that sort of stuff. And honestly, quite a lot comes out of it, and it is something that really stresses a lot of people out. What if I told you that you didn't have to do this? What if I told you didn't have to have a switch for chroming 4 and you didn't have to have a switch for planted feet? You may think, what the hell are you saying? Okay, I need to put something in front of this before I talk about more, and that is, this is for the people who aren't fussed about the absolute best DPS opportunities. For the people who just want an easier and more relaxed and a more chilled out experience while doing PVM. There's a lot of you out there. I am one of them as well, even though I'm sort of mid-ground and I actually don't mind using some switches, but there's a lot of people I know as well that just hate doing switches to the point where they're not bothered about the kill times, and all they want to do is just have a boss kill that is successful, not ridiculously overtimed, and is just chilled. Now, that is what this is for. For those people that are like that and don't care about the absolute best DPS possible, you can put those perks like planted feet and your chroming on your main hand weapons, and it is absolutely fine. So many people will still put them on switches, and then they'll be like, I just can't do these switches. I can't do the planted feet switch during the fight. I can't do the chroming switch during the fight. Put them on your main hand weapons. If you've got dual ascensions, put planted feet on one, put chroming on the other one. It doesn't matter. You're going to lose DPS. I will tell you now, you will lose DPS because you don't have Aftershock 4 and Precise 6 or whatever on your main hand weapons, Equilibrium, all that sort of stuff. You can get Aftershock and Planted Feet. You can get these switches that you would want mixed with other perks that are going to be helping you out. So you will be missing out on some, but you won't be missing out on too many. So you will lose some DPS, but it's not going to make you not able to kill bosses. You will be able to kill most bosses in this game without any perks whatsoever. Perks are amazing though, and they will help out with DPS. They will help out a hell of a lot, and I don't suggest that you don't have them. I suggest that if you are someone who just doesn't want to do switches, rather than missing out on a Planted Feet switch, rather than missing out on a Chroming 4 switch, have them on your main hand weapons. That way you still get access to those amazing perks, rather than just saying, I can't do them, I'm not going to do it. Basically what I should have said earlier is it is better to have Planted Feet on your main hand weapon and still get an extended death swiftness than it is to not have it at all. And if anybody tries to tell you that you are doing things absolutely wrong because you're not using a Planted Feet switch, then you know what? This is your game as well. You can play however you want to play, and if that is what you prefer to do, then just go ahead and do it. And then eventually, you may want to switch it up, and you may want to add these switches one at a time and work on it when you got a bit more practice and you kind of feel up to it. But that's up to you. The next thing that every PVMer should probably know about is your abilities have secondary effects. They don't just do damage, they don't just do stuns, they don't just do things like damage over time effects. There is extra stuff that you need to know about your abilities, and it will help you out a hell of a lot. This is something I know a lot of people don't know about. They may know it in the back of their mind, but they don't know what the abilities do. So what I suggest everyone does, if they haven't already, is read what the abilities do really quickly. The tooltips got reworked, so they are a bit easier to understand now than they used to be, and that is absolutely great. So just hover your mouse over the abilities, and it will pop up with a little text box that will tell you exactly what these abilities do. Now, some things will have secondary effects and will make a useless ability pretty useful to use in some situations. For example, Piercing Shot and Rack are terrible abilities, normally. But if you use them on a bound target, they actually increase their damage a hell of a lot and become pretty useful abilities in certain situations. For example, on Magic, you can actually 4-tick, and when you use your staff, you can release Ice Barrage on a target that is stunnable or bindable, and then use Rack. And that alone makes Rack a hell of a lot of a better ability, because you're using it on a bound target every time that you use it, and it suddenly becomes super strong. Other things as well, like walking your bleeds. People probably know about walking bleeds, but they may not know exactly why. When certain bleeds are applied to a target, if you move that target, it increases the damage. So it is usually always a good idea to walk a target if you can, once you've applied a bleed to it. Then you also have your abilities like Needle Shot, which will add a flat % damage increase on your next ability used. However, if this ability that you use has multiple hits in it, for example Rapid Fire, it will only apply that damage to the first 2 hits and not the rest of it. But this is all stuff that if you know about, it will actually help you out a lot, and you'll just start using them and applying them in situations that you don't really need to overthink about it as well. So for example, you'll start using Needle Shot before thresholds and stuff on purpose in certain situations where it's worth doing. You'll also start using Rack or Piercing Shot after you know you've just stunned the target or bound the target, and like these are things that you will just start doing without even thinking about it. It may take time to sort of get used to it, but trust me, read your abilities, see what these secondary effects do, because you'll be probably surprised if you've never read through them. So the final thing that I think every PVMer should know about, and probably the people who are endgame already know about this, but they probably, to be honest, a lot of you won't admit it, and this is okay. I understand why, but for the people who are getting into PVM, the people who are at the top didn't get there overnight. They took a lot of practice, right? So what I wanted to talk about is being good at bosses and like being considered, I'm good at this boss, or if you currently think that I'm really not good at Nex, or I'm really not good at ED3, or I really just can't do this. It takes a lot of time and it takes a lot of practice, and it's important that you know this because you will get burnt out along the way. But knowing this helps reduce that, because you know that you're not alone. You're not the only person who has died 100 times at Telos. You're not the only person who struggles to push his enrage at Telos. You're the only person who is trying to go through ED3 but can't get past Taraket. All these things that you're running into, all these like barriers and walls that you've hit, I can guarantee you that other people have as well. And I probably have hit most of them. All of those examples that I gave you, they were walls that I hit and things that I struggled with. And I guarantee a lot of people watching will be able to relate to this. People who are at endgame, let me know in the comments, or let the other people know, should I say, in the comments, the things that you actually struggled with. Just give like 2 or 3 maybe, because it'll help them out. It will help. This is something that really will help people out, especially with like actually putting the time in and the effort in. A lot of people really sort of try a boss once or twice, and they realize that they can't do it, and they either give up or they just put it down to the fact that they don't have the gear or the unlocks yet, and they're like, right, what's the next thing that I need to do? I cannot do Taraket because I don't have tier 92s, or I cannot do Taraket because I don't have Crypt Bloom. That's just not how it works. Just Crypt Blooms only just come out. But rather than doing that, it's good for you guys to know that we all did the exact same thing. I got to Taraket, I really couldn't get past for so long, and I also did the same. I didn't come back for a long time, and then when I did come back, I died over and over and over again at Taraket. Until now, it's not too difficult and I can get through pretty easy. But this is how it works. You have to put time in and practice, and you pick things up along the way. You will pick things up for certain bosses, and you're like, oh, that actually helps out a lot doing this. And it may not be the efficient thing to do, it may not be the best thing to do, but if it helps you, then that's absolutely fine. But knowing that everybody else, or most people, there's going to be some people that just didn't get this, right? They were just absolutely perfect every time they did it. They were just pro, they picked stuff up stupidly easy. But for most people, learning bosses or getting good at PVM is something that takes quite a while to do. It's going to take you a lot of effort, it's going to take you a lot of time, and it's something that you need to know that you're not alone when you're hitting these walls, because that's what's going to burn you out, and I hope that you don't get burnt out and that you do keep going. But anyway, that was our last thing that I wanted to talk about, so I thought this was quite important. But like I say, guys, do comment, do leave comments to let people know that they're not alone. People struggle with this. Like, you guys can probably relate to some of the things I said. Post down below, I'm sure I'll relate to some of the things you say. I'll reply and let you know, all that sort of stuff. But anyway, while there are probably a hell of a lot more things that every PVMer should know about, I wanted this list, I guess, to be different from most of the other ones. I don't like you guys to have to watch the same videos over and over again, just from different people. So I do try to make them a little bit more unique and different, just because that's just the way I prefer to do things. But there will be a lot more things, and if anyone can think of any, leave them in a comment below as well. And if there's enough of them, I will make a second video, and I'll treat it like a community questions one, where I'll go through and I'll screenshot your comment, and I'll use your comment in the actual video with your name and everything, and we'll talk about your comment and explain a little bit more, because there's just absolutely no way I could have covered everything in one video anyway. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, make sure to leave a like on it, subscribe to the channel if you are new. If you found anything in here useful whatsoever, then definitely do leave a comment down below and let me know what it was. Otherwise, guys, thank you all to my channel members for the extra support you guys always provide. It was absolutely amazing, and I really do appreciate it. Your names will be on screen now, of course, as always. Thank you very much to you guys. If anyone else is interested in joining the channel members, then just click the join button by the subscribe button. You can get some perks as well, things like Discord roles for early access to videos, that sort of stuff. As soon as they're ready, I will post them in there for you guys, and of course it does help out a hell of a lot. Finally, if you are interested in extra content from myself, especially things that are like clips from stream content, I do have a channel specifically for YouTube Shorts, which I will be taking off of the channel eventually, but not just yet. When that channel's ready for it, then I'll be taking them off of here and just putting them on there. But go to the description, follow the link there, and subscribe to that channel as well if you're interested. But anyway, guys, thank you all so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I will see you all in the next one. See you later, guys. Bye.